Hello, welcome back to Sage Thyme, friends. There are messages today. I have no idea what they are, but I can feel them. And I feel like they are the energy of it is this cool, calming balm, a counter energy in a sense, if you will, to what we're experiencing and will continue to with this Mercury retrograde that just started yesterday. As it's retrograding in Sagittarius right now, on its way to conjunct with Mars in the next couple days, and then back into Scorpio, which has a whole host of things. And I know that there's information regarding the astrology. I'm just not sure if it's coming through in this one or the next video. Well, I'm swaying these astrology dice, so it might be this one. You'll find out before I do, and also after. All right, 6th house, Mars in Cancer. Huh, wow, that's exactly what I just said. The 6th house of healing, Mars. We all know what Mars can do when he's agitated and not grounded and clear of emotion and cooling fire, or calming his fire, appointing his fire into something creative. And then with Cancer here, those cooling waters, that incredible maternal nourishing embrace of Mars, of Cancer with Mars is fire. I just had it. I was distracted by my little dog's oinking down here. He oinks when he's excited about or confirming things that I'm saying. But it was really cute. I got distracted. Right. So Cancer and that maternal calming balm of waters that doesn't squelch Mars's fire. She is maternal, so she offers guidance and parameters. And unlike the rigidity of Capricorn's paternal parameters, hers are softer, but also, if opposed with disregard, can alchemize that fire and release it into steam, leaving Mars a bit naked and raw. So this is about that youthful masculine within us, the impetuous fire, the go, go, go action. When sat within the cooling, healing waters of the maternal self, it provides a healing, that 6th house. And so while we are facing and experiencing, even simply feeling these energies of firecracker, everything just got quieter in my voice. During the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, back into the heavier, more dense waters of Scorpio, the supportive, cool, healing, calming waves of energy are present in our atmosphere. However, we have to be able to be present enough to perceive them, and we have to maintain that presence to maintain the embodiment of them, but it is available. And I have felt this oscillation between what's going on in the external matrix, the collective matrix, with the retrograde and the Mars and everything. And in addition, what is being provided in a countermeasure to help us navigate through it, not only in the most ease and grace mannerism, but also in that way that provides, as we move through it, and especially at the end of this transitory period, that provides incredible gifts and up-levelings of our own emotional maturity, as well as I'm hearing our innate self-healing abilities. Wow. Yeah. So I guess we are going into astrology. Ta-da! So in addition to that, we're still in that maintenance of the triple water trine between Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. 25 degrees in Pisces, we have Saturn. 25 degrees in Cancer, we have Jupiter, that expansion in the maternal nourishing. Saturn in Pisces is bringing a, I heard double-edged sword of, Cancer's like that, right? The multi-faced or double-faced, the gift with the consequence, the tool and the weapon. So Cancer's bringing that into Pisces, the cosmic source all of everything. And then also in the final water trine aspect of Black Moon Lilith, who has been very, very strong for anyone who has allowed themselves to connect with her, and she's at 25 degrees of Scorpio. So Black Moon Lilith is bringing into Scorpio. You know, Black Moon Lilith's all about, in her higher octaves, in her higher presence and interconnectedness with our conscious awareness and cultivation of psychology, emotions, presence. That's what I mean by higher octave. She's bringing in right reciprocity. That's what she's always ever been about, right? The first true sacred partner of Adam, both created from the same thing rather than how Eve was created out of Adam, as the mythology goes. Both Lilith and Adam were created out of, metaphorically speaking, as the literature says, dust, right? Stardust, we'll say. That's a whole nother fun story to tap into, isn't it? So Lilith, she's not disregarding her previous patriarchal labeling as Black Moon Lilith. She's keeping that as she's been swimming through the waters of Scorpio. However, she's also bringing to illumination the multifaceted spectrum of who she is, which includes her story, and it also includes who she really was in the offset of things. She was a woman partnered with a man, a duality creation of semi-oppositions, right? Who stood for herself and her knowingness, her higher connectivity knowingness, that she was not to be subjugated, not to submit to the masculine dominion. Oh, I feel that thousands of year old ache and wound. And that's what she's doing in Scorpio. Wow. She's running the rake, so to speak, like they do drags through the bottom of a lake, but they're doing it here in the depths of the sea. And so she's running this heavy, deeply aligned, netted rake across the bottom of the deep, dark sea, which is our ancestry, and all the wounds and exiles and casting out and misunderstanding, villainizations, especially with the feminine. This is Lilith we're talking about. And not just women, the feminine within men too, but really, really, truly also women as a whole. And so she's honoring this feminine, and she's honoring women, and she's having both men and women in the human sense nowadays go through and be initiated and activated into the depths of their cellular genetic memory, to dive into the deep, dark depths, the scorpion waters of their ancestors, and what each one of us has delved into to feel and see and hear and witness and experience through taste, smell, first-hand experience of the matriarchal trauma that has been imposed upon the female gender as well as the feminine of both and all genders as a whole. The feminine essence, that Cancerian nurture. And she's calling to task Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is the all of everything. Source, all, everything. And the origin story, as it would go with Source, is if you can imagine, if you are everything, and you're just everything everywhere, but there's kind of nothing because you are it. You're just it, and it's just space. A wise thing to do would be to create a manifestation, some sort of physicality. And imagine it maybe as a bubble. But here, if you were Source All, you're this bubble, but you're floating around in still the vast everything that is nothing. And so to experience yourself, you would need to create something that is also yourself, but oppositional in nature. And now we have two. Now we have duality. So when Source created itself into two, one example could be a masculine and a feminine. You could also do a cube and an orb. And that's a whole other conversation, but that's the nature of Pisces. It's in the sigil. It's these two kind of a part of an orb facing the other part of an orb with a line connecting them, being able to reflect and compare and contrast. That is the premise of catalyzing and enabling development and evolution. And from that, then it becomes more complex. Two orbs become geometric designs, different and unique, but also not so different to each other that they can't have something to compare and contrast. And so those two then go through ongoing like mitosis, mitotic type of bloop, bloop, bloops, just like how a fertilized egg in the womb will go through mitosis, one fertilized egg, and then it becomes two, and then it becomes four, and I don't know, it goes through, I think, the golden ratio. It just goes boop, 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 until eventually you get a mass of cells, and then a zygote, and then an embryo, and so forth, right? So Saturn is being in Pisces, is being called to task by Lilith in the acute, sharp, fierce, dense, intense, deep, dark waters, compression of those waters within the physicality, while Saturn's in the vast nothingness that's everything, which also has compression. And together they have Jupiter, who's housed, who is appointed in house in Sagittarius, but right now Jupiter's in Cancer, our maternal nourishment. And so Jupiter's in there saying, you know what? I really like the way this feels. I really like the contrast of these watery, healing, balming, calming, cooling, soothing, swaying, wu-wei river traveling waters of the maternal. And so he looks over at the two, Saturn in Pisces and Lilith in Scorpio, who are exactly in view of him more than anybody else in the astrological orb that surrounds our planetary orb, our conscious awareness of the constellations. And he's looking at these two and saying, Lilith, I'm listening. I am listening, and with my expansive, increasing and exaggerating, enhancing and uplifting, diplomatic listening and intention for the greater good of all, Jupiter meanness, I am going to listen and feel and hear and allow myself to experience all that you have been through and all that those that have come after you have been through in that same nature of oppression and dismission and exile and abuse and stifling of the true self to expand. And Saturn, Jupiter says, I'm not only listening to Lilith, but I'm pulling you into this conversation too. You will hear this in the depths and the expanses of your being, my patriarchal structure friend. You served a purpose, and that's fine and good. And there were mistakes that were made, and that's fine and well. This is part of the learning, growing, and development aspect of such things. And that said, you, like everyone, and every archetype, every individual, every consciousness, energy, entity, thought form, being and form, Saturn, you and everyone and everything that you've infiltrated is being held accountable now. You are to not only take responsibility for what was done and what you will do in the future, you are now to take accountability for the repercussions and the causes and the harms and the hurts. And that doesn't mean it's all on Saturn, because Lilith over here knows she's played a role in her darkness too over the millennia. And she understands. She doesn't deny it. She doesn't excuse it. She claims it. She's like, yeah, I've been a bit demonic. The scriptures weren't entirely wrong. However, they weren't the whole picture. And they were exaggerated, right? And they were vilified and infused upon to exaggerate what was really going on, which then, of course, if you call somebody purple enough times, they start to believe that they're purple, and then they start to, because of it, truly start being marginalized and forced into behaving and manifesting as purple. So she's not dismissing her power. She's claiming it, and she's also saying this has to be a true collaboration of accountability to the consequences. And she knows that her dues have come. And she knows that the dues have come to all those in her wake, all those after her that have suffered the same, similar, more even than she, even though she has suffered with them. For she is one of the first human form, as far as mythology goes, manifestations, incarnations of the earth consciousness, our earth mother. And so, you know, just like the daughters and sisters of Sophia, whom are also known as to be the incarnations of the earth consciousness, the priestesses and high priestesses, as well as others throughout lore, Isis. All the names are escaping me, but I think you get where I'm coming from. T. So this is what's going on astrologically, and as always, why is it important for you the human that is embodying a spirit, having a human experience? Well, this is for your growth. And the more tuned into we are, of course, to the tools, the resources that are available to us beyond books and material things. We're talking resources that are not readily seen and felt and known when humans and animals and such are so busybodied into the going of social constructs, Saturn constructs, that prevent us from being connected and interconnected with that inherent and innate, expansive, not only knowledge, knowingness, gnosis, but powerful sovereign abilities to self-actualize, to self-heal, to self-provide, and to do so in concert in a co-creative awareness of what is needed, not just for what we want and need, but what is needed within balanced harmony of our world as a whole, and for those at even higher levels beyond our world, of course. These are not esoteric notions and privileges of myth and fantasy story. These are actual developments that many of you that are listening to this already know. These are actual developments happening within humans and animals right now, and plants, the flora and the fauna, as we are all being called to awaken and open to and allow and embrace our own distinct individual embodiment of self-actualization. And for many, that includes being able to perceive and engage and interact with other realms, other dimensions, for, I believe, at least at some sense, conscious or subconscious in the dream state maybe, for many that is pulling in timeline versions of the self. Most timeline versions not being fully in physical construct, some being very energetic, like an imagining, and then some being actual physical timelines, and then everything in between. So pulling those in through meditation, vision, and in dream space, lucid dreaming, being inserted into the self that is living in these different timelines that were created by moments of loss of parts of our soul. And so to go into these different timelines, and if you've ever experienced them, they can be and are often every type of possible version of yourself, living out its own variation, right? Consequences, benefits. Some are awful and horrific. Some are beautiful and incredible and so much better than the life that you've been living here. But by going into them, especially the more traumatic, or maybe not traumatic, but just more difficult timelines, and allowing yourself to enter the you self in that timeline and get present with what's going on that within the wound of that self, what you in that timeline have caused and created that has rippled into other harms and hurts and consequences. Getting present with that, lovingly witnessing it, acknowledging it, claiming it, bringing it back into the whole soul of the self, so that when you do come back into the physical body of the main timeline that is you right here, right now. You pull in that timeline and dissolve yourself from it. And by doing that, you are consolidating more and more lost pieces of your soul shards, I call it. We can say little shards or bubbles of quantity and quality of your consciousness, our soul being, at the very least, in part, a conglomeration of consciousness. And we lose parts of that when certain things happen in the primary timeline. Wow. Well, that was really fun to talk about. I hope you liked that. We're at 25 minutes. I think what I'll do, I think I might close this out. Is there anything else? Nope, not that one. This deck. No, this deck. No, this deck. All right, we'll go here. The Ancient Stones Oracle. And then I will do another reading after this. And we'll see if I have a feeling it'll be an extension in a sense, but perhaps, probably, possibly more grounded in the mundane reality, along with, as always, the esoteric, metaphysical, such and such, yada yada, da 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 da, bibbidi bobbidi boop. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. So we've got the Stone of Destiny, life path, ambition, passion, yes. And this is in part talking about, again, that central timeline that you are and you are in. And this sword of truth, the Excalibur in the stone, only you within the timeline of your truest destined path can pull that sword of truth out of its stuck adhesion. Only that version of you has the ability to embody all the parts of your consciousness lost, given away, taken from you throughout time, this lifetime and others. And so you can see she's this feminine, this beautiful dark-haired feminine like Lilith. She is in concert with us in our intentions of doing the same work. She is bringing back all the lost parts of herself, of her soul, into her being. And the more she does that, the more imbued with her magic that resides within and between the little fragments of her consciousness, the subparticles of her consciousness, the planks within her consciousness. She's imbuing that magic into her centralized physical form of the main timeline. And that magic, that energy, frequency, resonance is, along with her intention, and as you can see, her connection with the source all, as well, you can see that through that line there, as well as her connection with her home, the Earth Mother, the origin of consciousness that was brought into her physical being upon her creation, her physical creation. So with the support, the envelopment of the maternal, and the information and inertia of the masculine together, this sword of truth is something that she's claiming for herself, as are you. That is the ambition, that is the passion, to become the whole self. And it's so much more than our minds, our awareness can even fathom, but we can touch on it here and there. And when we just touch on just the tiniest bit of it, which is all where our minds are really able to do, our sentience is really able to do, it's immense and profound and powerful. And that alone just indicates how awe-inspiring your journey is. Your effect on this world is the value and worth and importance of you as a man, as a woman, as a person, as an individual being, as all of it, and then some. And then we're reminded by the mountain, slow and steady, the foundation and patience, right? Yeah, patience. So your foundation stones, as I talk about many times, foundation of love, truth, peace, those types of things, your cornerstones, and then the stones between those cornerstones. Those take time to establish, like the cornerstone of love, which for me was the very first one. I have been cultivating that cornerstone consciously for 12 years now. And it takes time and patience. It is a cultivation, love, that requires presence, patience, attention, and time. Heart, physicality, right? Intention, and time, which is an allowance. And that's Saturn. Saturn talks about time. Capricorn, the mountain, it is formed over time. And it is shaped then from that initial form, again, over time, with the elements, allowing or not allowing the elements, the wind, the rain, the flora and fauna to shape it over time. Oh, this is just such a good and beautiful reading. We're going to close it out here. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for being here and bringing your presence, bringing your energy, and bearing witness to mine as we are sharing and exchanging this incredible love, truth, honor, and respect given and infused within our own selves so that it can overflow and be shared in that right reciprocity, as Lilith has always asked for, between the two of us, the however many of you and myself. And I really, really appreciate you for that, for being a part of that with me and bringing that into this beautiful safe space. And so with that, I say, go in the great power of the divine all. Go in beautiful peace of self-love and self-reverence, for you are the temple. Your body and your being is the temple that you infuse with your consciousness and qualify with your heart's intent. Go and be all those things and be them gently. Be them softly. Be them strong in your foundation. Be them compassionately, knowing that things change and allowing that. Be them in the presence of you, and be them, all of that, in the appreciation and reverence for the presence of all of the everything and everyone that show up around you, for they are also just as you are, however that may be, exactly how and what they are meant to be at that time. And so are you, and so am I, and so are we, and so it is. I love you. Take care.